My name is Freya Collins. If you are hearing this story, then I need you to understand something before anything else. Never trust a train that arrives when no train is scheduled, especially if it arrives after midnight, especially if it stops for only one passenger, and especially if every window is dark. I learned that lesson too late. It started in late October 2025. The weather in northern Pennsylvania had turned cold earlier than expected. Wind pushed dead leaves across empty streets, and the sky stayed gray for days at a time. Most of my jobs involved traveling between small towns, taking photos for local magazines and tourism websites. That week I had spent 3 days photographing abandoned mining communities near the mountains. The assignment was boring but easy money. On the final evening, I packed my equipment and headed toward the train station in a tiny town called Ash Hollow. Ash Hollow had less than 2,000 residents. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone. One grocery store, one diner, one gas station, one train platform. That was all. The station itself looked ancient. Faded paint peeled from the wooden walls. A rusted clock hung above the entrance. The waiting room smelled like dust and old newspapers. My train to Pittsburgh was scheduled for 11:40 p.m. Unfortunately, a freight train had derailed somewhere farther south. Every route was delayed. The station attendant told me it might take several hours. I considered renting a motel room. Then I checked the prices. Everything was booked because of a hunting festival nearby. So I stayed. By midnight, the station was completely empty. The attendant had gone home. The lights inside the waiting room shut off automatically. Only a few lamps remained outside. I sat alone on a bench, scrolling through photos on my camera. The silence felt strange. Not peaceful. Heavy. Like the town itself was holding its breath. Around 12:35 a.m., I noticed something odd. The station clock had stopped moving. The minute hand rested on 12, the second hand on 6, frozen. I checked my phone. 12:35 a.m. The clock should have been working. I shrugged and looked away. Then my phone lost signal. 1 bar. Then none. No calls. Nothing. The wind died. Every sound disappeared. Even the distant highway noise vanished. I stood and looked around. The town beyond the station seemed darker than before. The streetlights had gone out. Every building looked abandoned. An uncomfortable feeling settled into my stomach. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Then I heard it. A train horn. Long. Deep. Echoing through the darkness. Relief washed over me. Finally, the train was coming. I stepped closer to the platform. A bright light appeared far down the tracks. It grew larger. Closer. Closer. But something immediately felt strange. The train looked old. Very old. The locomotive resembled photographs from decades ago. Its metal body was black and scarred. Smoke billowed from its chimney. Not exhaust. Smoke. Like an old steam engine. Yet it moved silently. No wheel noise. No mechanical rumbling. Nothing. The train glided toward the station like a ghost. Every light inside was off. Every window was black. The locomotive stopped directly in front of me. The doors opened. No passengers exited. No conductor appeared. No announcement played. Just silence. A sign above the lead car caught my attention. Painted in faded white letters were 2 words. Last Train. I frowned. There was no train line called Last Train. I checked for markings, company logos, route information, anything. Nothing. As if they had traveled for hundreds of years. Then I noticed movement. Someone stood inside the first car. A man. Tall. Thin. Wearing a conductor uniform. His face remained hidden in shadow. He lifted one arm. Slowly. Inviting me aboard. Something deep inside me screamed not to move. But another thought immediately followed. What choice did I have? This was the only train, and I needed to get home. The conductor never spoke. never moved. He simply waited. I grabbed my backpack and stepped onto the train. The moment my shoes touched the floor, everything changed. The doors slammed shut behind me. A loud metallic boom echoed through the car. The train immediately started moving. I nearly lost my balance. The acceleration was impossible. Within seconds, we were traveling faster than any train should. I rushed toward a window. Darkness. Absolute darkness. No town, no station, no lights, nothing. It looked like the train was moving through an endless black void. My pulse quickened. Okay, maybe this was some weird optical illusion. Maybe I was exhausted. Maybe I needed sleep. That explanation lasted about 10 seconds. Because when I turned around, I realized I was no longer alone. Passengers filled the car. Dozens of them. Men, women, children, all sitting perfectly still. I froze. They had not been there moments earlier. Every seat had been empty. Now every row contained silent figures. None of them spoke. Every face stared straight ahead. Their expressions were blank, emotionless, like mannequins. I swallowed hard. Maybe they had been hidden somehow. Maybe I simply hadn't noticed. But I knew that wasn't true. I had walked through this car. It had been empty, completely empty. I moved slowly down the aisle. Nobody reacted. Nobody blinked. Nobody moved. Then I saw an elderly woman sitting beside a window. Unlike the others, she was looking directly at me. Fear filled her eyes. Real fear. I hurried toward her. "Excuse me, do you know where this train is going?" She grabbed my wrist. Her fingers felt ice cold. The sudden contact made me jump. "Get off," she whispered. My stomach tightened. "What?" "Get off while you still can. The train is not supposed to take the living." A chill crawled down my spine. "What does that mean?" Before she could answer, someone stood up behind me. A man wearing a dark suit. His face was pale, extremely pale. His eyes looked cloudy, almost blind. He stared directly at the old woman. Immediately she released my wrist. Fear spread across her face. The man continued watching her. Several seconds passed. Then he sat back down. The woman lowered her head. She refused to speak again, no matter how many questions I asked. I backed away. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. Something was horribly wrong with these people. I decided to find the conductor. Maybe he could explain. I moved through the next car, then the next, then another. The train seemed impossibly large. Every car contained passengers. Every passenger sat motionless. Every face looked drained and lifeless. As I walked farther from the front, the passengers appeared increasingly strange. Some wore clothing from different eras. I saw a soldier in a World War II uniform, a woman in a dress that looked more than a century old, a man wearing clothing from the 1970s, a little girl clutching a rag doll. None spoke, none moved, only watched. Their eyes followed me, hundreds of eyes, watching, waiting. I finally reached a dining car. Tables lined both sides. The room looked luxurious despite its age. Crystal chandeliers hung overhead. Silver utensils rested on white tablecloths. Yet no food existed, only empty plates. At the center table sat a young boy, maybe 10 years old. Unlike everyone else, he seemed normal, alive. He looked up as I approached. "You should not be here," he said. I stared. "You can talk?" "Of course. Who are you?" "My name is Oliver." "How old are you?" 10. "Where are your parents?" He pointed toward a nearby table. A man and woman sat there, perfectly still. Neither moved, neither blinked. My chest tightened. "Are they okay?" "No," Oliver said. Then he looked away. I asked. He thought for a moment. "Maybe 70 years ago." I laughed nervously. "That's impossible." He didn't smile. I wasn't joking. The dining car suddenly felt colder, much colder. The chandeliers flickered. Oliver leaned closer. "You need to hide." "Why?" "Because he knows you're here now." "Who?" Oliver's expression changed instantly. Terror. Pure terror. The boy looked toward the far end of the train. I followed his gaze. A door stood partially open. Beyond it stretched darkness. Not normal darkness. Something deeper. Moving. Breathing. Alive. The shadows seemed to twist inside that doorway. My stomach dropped. "What is that?" I whispered. Oliver stood abruptly. Too late. The lights went out. Every chandelier died at once. Darkness swallowed the car. Passengers began whispering. Hundreds of voices, soft, unintelligible, coming from every direction. The whispers grew louder, and louder, and louder. Then silence. Absolute silence. A single sound echoed through the darkness. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, approaching. My breathing became shallow. The footsteps moved closer, one step at a time. The passengers remained completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody reacted. Only the footsteps continued. Closer, closer, closer. Then the lights returned, appeared normal again. Except Oliver was gone. His chair sat empty. I spun around. Oliver. No answer. The boy had vanished. The passengers stared at me. Every one of them. Their blank faces somehow looked frightened. I backed away. Then I noticed something written on one of the windows. Words formed in frost. 5 simple words. "He knows you are here." My blood ran cold. I stumbled backward. The train suddenly lurched violently. Passengers gasped. For the first time, every face turned toward the windows. Outside, darkness was disappearing. Something else had replaced it. A landscape. Endless forests. Dead trees stretched toward a gray sky. Thousands of figures stood among them. Human shapes. Motionless. Watching the train pass. There were so many that the forest floor was hidden beneath them. Millions, perhaps. Standing shoulder to shoulder. Watching. Waiting. Their heads slowly turned as the train sped by. Following us. A terrible realization entered my mind. Those figures were not alive. And somehow they all wanted something from the train. Something inside it. A scream erupted from another car. Then another. Then another. Passengers began panicking. The stillness that had dominated the train shattered instantly. People jumped from seats, cried, prayed, ran. Fear exploded everywhere. I grabbed a seat to steady myself. "What is happening?" No one answered. A woman rushed past me. "He's coming." Screamed. "He's coming again." The lights flickered. The train shook violently. Windows cracked. Cold air blasted through the car. Far ahead, beyond multiple compartments, a horrible sound echoed through the train. A deep growl. Not human, not animal, something much worse. The growl vibrated through metal walls. Passengers screamed. People surged down the aisles, trying to escape, trying to hide. I stood frozen, unable to understand. Then I saw it, far down the train, at the opposite end. A tall figure emerged from the shadows. At first, I thought it was the conductor. Then I realized it was much taller, much thinner. Its limbs bent at unnatural angles. Its head nearly touched the ceiling. And its face, there was no face. Only darkness. Living darkness. The creature slowly tilted its head toward me, as though noticing me among hundreds of passengers. The growl came again, louder. The passengers began crying. Some fell to their knees. Others covered their faces. The creature took one step forward, then another, and another. The entire train seemed to tremble beneath its weight. For reasons I could not explain, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. The monster was not interested in the others. It wanted me. And as it started moving through the train, pushing terrified passengers aside, I realized my nightmare had only just begun. The creature kept moving toward me. One step, then another. Its impossibly long limbs scraped against the walls and ceiling as it advanced through the train. Passengers scattered. Some screamed, some prayed. Others simply lowered their heads as if they had already accepted whatever fate awaited them. The thing never looked at them. Its attention remained fixed on me. I turned and ran. The dining car vanished behind me as I sprinted through the next compartment. My boots pounded against the floor. My lungs burned. The train seemed endless. Every door led to another car, and another, and another. No matter how far I ran, the sound of the creature followed. Slow footsteps, heavy footsteps, never speeding up, never slowing down, as if it already knew I couldn't escape. I glanced back. The passengers were watching. Hundreds of faces, hundreds of terrified eyes. Not one person tried to stop me. Not one person tried to help. They simply watched, like they had seen this happen before, many times. I pushed through another door, then froze. The car beyond was completely different. Gone were the seats, gone were the passengers. Instead, rows of hospital beds stretched into the distance. The compartment looked like an old medical ward. Dim yellow lights flickered overhead. Rust stained the walls. The smell of disinfectant filled the air. What the hell was this place? I stepped inside cautiously. The train door slammed shut behind me. The sound made me jump. Every bed appeared occupied. Bodies lay beneath white sheets. Dozens of them. Completely motionless. A terrible feeling settled into my stomach. I backed toward the door. Then one of the bodies sat upright. The sheet slipped away. A young woman stared directly at me. Her eyes were wide with panic. "Help me," she whispered. I nearly screamed. The woman climbed out of bed. She looked normal, alive, unlike most of the train's passengers. "Please help me," she repeated. "I don't know where I am." "Neither do I said. "How long have you been here?" She shook her head. "I don't know. Hours maybe. Days. The train changes everything. Time doesn't work here." Before I could respond, another body sat upright. Then another, then another. Within seconds, dozens of people were standing beside their beds, all looking at me, all terrified, all alive. "Who are you people?" I asked. The young woman answered, "The train took us, just like it took you." My pulse quickened. "Took you from where?" "Different places, different years, different lives. Some of us were supposed to die, others weren't. The train made mistakes." A loud crash echoed somewhere behind us. Everyone flinched. Fear spread across their faces. "The creature," someone whispered. "It's getting closer." Instantly, panic erupted. People began running, shouting, pushing past one another. The young woman grabbed my arm. "Where?" "The safe cars." She didn't wait for an answer. She pulled me through another door. We entered a narrow corridor. The hospital ward vanished behind us. The corridor stretched impossibly far. Old photographs covered both walls. Thousands of photographs. Every image showed a person. Men, women, children. Different ages, different eras, different cultures. Some photos were black and white, others were faded color. I moved closer to one picture. A teenage boy stood beside a bicycle. The date written below read 1958. A second photograph showed a soldier. Another showed a family. The hallway seemed to contain people from every decade imaginable. "Who are they?" I asked. "The dead," the young woman replied quietly. "Every passenger who ever rode the train." A chill raced down my spine. "Every passenger?" She nodded. "Nobody truly leaves." I stopped walking. "What do you mean?" Her expression darkened. "The train keeps pieces of people, even after they're gone, even after they disappear." "Disappear where?" "Nobody knows." Another crash echoed through the train, closer this time. The corridor lights flickered violently. People screamed somewhere behind us. The young woman's face turned pale. "Run!" she shouted. Everyone started running again. I followed. The photographs blurred past. Thousands, tens of thousands, maybe more, each representing someone who had boarded the train, someone who had never escaped. The realization terrified me. This thing, how long had it existed? The question swirled through my head as we reached the end of the corridor. A massive steel door stood before us. Ancient symbols covered its surface. The young woman pounded on it. "Open, open now." Several locks clicked. The doors slowly creaked inward. A bright golden light spilled through the opening. People rushed inside. I followed. The door slammed shut behind us. For the first time since boarding the train, I felt warmth. Real warmth. The room resembled a church. Wooden benches filled the space. Candles burned along the walls. Beautiful stained glass windows cast colored light across the floor. Dozens of passengers sat inside. Some prayed, others slept, several quietly cried. The atmosphere felt peaceful, safe, at least compared to everything else. The young woman finally released my arm. "You're safe here for now." "For now," I repeated. She nodded. "Nothing stays safe forever." I sank onto a bench. My hands trembled. I still couldn't fully process what was happening. This couldn't be real. It had to be a dream, a hallucination, something. Yet every second felt painfully real. A voice interrupted my thoughts. "You are Freya." I looked up. An elderly man sat across from me. His silver hair hung to his shoulders. Deep wrinkles covered his face. Unlike everyone else, he seemed calm, very calm. "How do you know my name?" I asked. "Because the train told us." He nodded. "Everyone here knows who you are." That did not make me feel better. "Who are you?" "Samuel," he replied. "How long have you been here?" The old man smiled sadly. "Long enough to forget." That answer chilled me. I leaned forward. "What exactly is this train?" Samuel studied me carefully. Then he sighed. "Nobody knows the entire truth, but we know pieces. Tell me." He glanced around the room. The other passengers listened silently. "Long ago," Samuel began, "there was a final train built for souls. Not heaven, not hell. A passage between places. Something meant to carry the dead. For centuries it worked as intended. Then something happened. What happened? Nobody knows. The train changed. Or maybe something climbed aboard. Something that was never supposed to exist." "The creature," I whispered. Samuel nodded. "The thing without a face. The thing that hunts. The thing that feeds." My stomach tightened. "Feeds on what?" "Hope, fear, memories, lives, sometimes entire souls." The room grew silent. Everyone stared at the floor, as if they knew exactly what he meant. I swallowed. "Can it be stopped?" Samuel laughed softly. "No." "Can it be escaped?" His smile disappeared. "Very few ever do." A cold sensation settled in my chest. I suddenly remembered Oliver, the little boy from the dining car. I said, "Have you ever met a boy named Oliver?" The old man's eyes widened. Immediately. "You saw Oliver?" "Yes." Samuel exchanged nervous glances with several nearby passengers. "That isn't possible." "Why?" "Because Oliver died. A long time ago." My pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" Samuel leaned closer. "Oliver was one of the first passengers. He appears sometimes, usually before something terrible happens." A knot formed in my stomach. Before I could ask another question, a bell rang somewhere inside the train. Everyone froze. The peaceful atmosphere vanished instantly. The passengers looked terrified. "What was that?" I asked. Nobody answered. The bell rang again. Louder. Longer. Samuel slowly stood. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no. Not now." "What's wrong?" I asked. His face had gone completely white. "The train is stopping." The room erupted into panic. People jumped from benches. Some cried. Others rushed toward exits. Several began praying desperately. The bell continued ringing, again and again. "Why is everyone scared?" I shouted. Samuel grabbed my shoulder. "Because the train never stops. Not unless it wants more passengers." The words hit me like ice water. The train lurched violently. Everyone stumbled. The stained glass windows darkened. The golden light disappeared. Outside, only darkness remained. The brakes screamed. The train began slowing. Then finally, it stopped. Complete silence followed. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then a distant sound echoed from somewhere outside. Knocking. Slow. Rhythmic. Knock, knock, knock. The sound came from beyond the train walls. Something outside was knocking to be let in. Knock, knock, knock. A woman near the front started sobbing. Samuel lowered his head. "Don't open the doors," he whispered. "Please don't open the doors." The knocking continued. Louder now, more aggressive. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly a voice echoed through the train. A voice unlike anything I had ever heard. Deep, ancient. Every word vibrated through the walls. "Passengers waiting." The train shook. The voice came again. "Passengers waiting." The knocking transformed into pounding. The entire train rattled. People screamed. Candles extinguished one by one. Darkness spread through the room. I rushed toward a window. Outside stood figures, thousands of them, stretching across an endless black landscape. Their faces pressed against the glass. Their eyes stared inside, watching, waiting, wanting. Some appeared human, others did not. Many looked broken, twisted, wrong, and all of them were smiling. One figure stood directly outside my window. A young woman. Her skin was gray, her eyes completely black, yet something about her seemed familiar. Very familiar. I stared harder. Then my heart nearly stopped. I knew her. Somehow I knew her. Not personally, but from somewhere. Then I remembered. A photograph. An old newspaper article I had once read. A woman who had vanished while waiting for a train station in Ohio, decades earlier. Yet here she stood, smiling at me through the glass. The pounding intensified. Cracks spread across several windows. Passengers began screaming louder. Samuel grabbed my arm. "Get away from there, now." I stumbled back. A second later, the glass exploded inward. Shards flew everywhere. Cold wind roared into the room. Dark hands reached through the broken opening. Dozens of hands, hundreds, grabbing, searching. The passengers ran. The church car descended into chaos. And above the screaming, another sound emerged. Footsteps, heavy footsteps, coming from somewhere deeper inside the train. The creature had found us, and this time, it wasn't alone. The shattered window became a doorway. Dark hands poured through the opening. Dozens, then hundreds. Passengers screamed and scattered across the church car. Some climbed over benches, others pushed toward the exits. The cold wind howled through the broken glass. It sounded almost like laughter. I stumbled backward. One of the gray hands nearly grabbed my ankle. Its fingers were unnaturally long. The skin looked cracked and dried, like old paper. Samuel pulled me away. "Move, now." We ran toward the rear door. The church car erupted into panic behind us. A man tripped. The hands immediately seized him. His scream echoed through the train. For a brief moment, I saw his face. Pure terror. Then the darkness outside dragged him through the broken window. The scream stopped instantly, as if it had never existed. My stomach twisted. "What happened to him?" I shouted. Samuel didn't answer. His face looked grim. The old man pushed through the next door. I followed. Several passengers rushed in behind us. The door slammed shut. The screams became muffled, but they didn't stop. The train shook violently. The lights flickered. Somewhere ahead came the familiar sound of heavy footsteps. The faceless creature was moving again, and it was getting closer. We entered a narrow sleeping car. Rows of old cabins lined both sides. The atmosphere felt strangely quiet compared to the chaos behind us. Samuel locked the door. Then he leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. For a moment, nobody spoke. Everyone listened. The pounding from the church car gradually faded. The screams faded too, until only silence remained. An awful silence. One passenger lowered his head. They're gone. Nobody disagreed. Nobody needed to. I looked around. There were 8 of us. Samuel, the young woman from the hospital car, 3 elderly passengers, 2 men in work uniforms, and me. The young woman finally introduced herself. My name is Claire. I nodded. Freya. I know. Everyone knows. The answer sent another chill through me. Why does everybody keep saying that? Nobody answered. Samuel stared toward the floor. Claire looked uncomfortable. The 2 workers exchanged nervous glances. Finally, Samuel spoke. Because you're different. Different how? The old man hesitated. The train rarely takes living passengers. They matter. I frowned. Matter to who? Samuel looked toward the ceiling. To the train. Nobody spoke after that. The answer was somehow more frightening than if he had refused to answer. A loud metallic groan echoed through the compartment. The train shook again. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Then a new sound emerged. A voice, very faint, coming from one of the sleeping cabins. Hello. The voice sounded like a little girl. Everyone froze. Hello, the voice repeated. Can someone help me? One of the elderly women immediately covered her ears. Don't listen, she whispered. Don't answer. The little girl's voice came again. Please, I'm scared. The cabin door slowly creaked open by itself. Darkness filled the room beyond. Nothing else. Just darkness. Claire stepped backward. Not real. She isn't real. I stared at the open doorway. The voice sounded so genuine, so frightened. For a moment, I almost believed a child was trapped inside. Then I noticed something strange. The darkness wasn't staying still. It moved, very slightly, as if breathing. The realization made my skin crawl. Samuel grabbed my shoulder. Keep walking. We moved deeper into the sleeping car. The little girl continued calling for help. Her voice followed us, growing louder, closer, even though we were moving away. Please help me. Please, I'm alone. Nobody answered. The passengers stared straight ahead and kept walking. Finally, the voice changed. The innocence vanished. The fear vanished. What replaced it made my blood run cold. The little girl began laughing. A horrible laugh. Too deep. Too old. Not human. The cabin door slammed shut behind us. The laughter stopped. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Then one of the workers muttered a prayer. I couldn't blame him. The train seemed determined to destroy every piece of logic left in my mind. We eventually reached the end of the sleeping car. Another door waited there. Rust covered its surface. A faded sign hung above it. Observation car. Samuel stopped immediately. No. Claire looked alarmed. We can't go through there. Why not? I asked. Neither answered. The train suddenly shook. A powerful impact echoed from behind us. The locked door at the opposite end rattled violently. Everyone jumped. Another impact followed, even stronger. The creature, Claire whispered. It's here. A third impact bent the metal inward. The lock cracked. Samuel cursed under his breath. We don't have a choice anymore. He pushed open the observation car door. Everyone rushed through. The observation car looked unlike anything I had seen before. The entire rear half consisted of glass walls and glass ceilings. At least it should have. Most of the glass was cracked. Some sections were completely missing. The darkness outside pressed against the train like an ocean. Rows of seats faced outward toward the windows. Many passengers sat there, motionless, watching something beyond the glass. None moved. The atmosphere felt wrong. Not dangerous, not yet, but deeply wrong. Samuel looked terrified. "Keep your eyes down." Nobody understood why, but everyone obeyed. I tried. I really did. Then curiosity won. I glanced out the rear window. Instantly, I regretted it. The train tracks stretched endlessly into the darkness behind us. But something stood on those tracks. Something enormous. At first, I thought it was a mountain. Then it moved. My heart nearly stopped. The thing towered above the landscape, miles tall. Its shape resembled a human figure. Barely. Its body appeared made from darkness itself. Countless pale faces covered its surface. Thousands of faces, all screaming silently. The giant stood motionless in the distance, watching the train, watching me. I immediately looked away. My entire body trembled. "What was that?" I whispered. Nobody answered. Several passengers had tears running down their faces. One man quietly repeated the same prayer over and over. The giant remained visible in my peripheral vision. I could feel it staring, even without looking. The sensation was unbearable. Then the door behind us exploded inward. Metal flew across the room. Passengers screamed. The faceless creature stepped into the observation car. Silence followed, complete silence. The monster's head slowly turned, searching, looking, hunting. I finally saw it clearly. The thing stood nearly 9 feet tall. Its limbs looked impossibly thin. Its skin resembled black ash. And where a face should have existed, there was only darkness, an endless void. No eyes, no mouth, nothing. Yet somehow I knew it was looking directly at me. The creature took a step forward. The floor shook. Another step. Closer. The passengers sitting by the windows remained motionless, as if they couldn't see it, or perhaps no longer cared. "Run!" Samuel shouted. Everyone scattered. The observation car erupted into chaos. The creature lunged, its arms stretched impossibly far. One of the workers screamed. The dark hand closed around him. The man's body froze instantly. His scream stopped. His face went blank. Emotion vanished from his eyes. Then he collapsed, dead. No blood, no wounds, just empty. The creature released him and continued forward, toward me, always toward me. I ran. Claire ran beside me. Samuel followed close behind. The remaining passengers scattered in every direction. Another scream echoed behind us, then another. The creature was feeding, taking something from them, something worse than life. We burst through another door. The compartment beyond nearly made me stop. It looked exactly like Ash Hollow Station. The same benches, the same clock, the same waiting room, even the same flickering lights. My breath caught in my throat. "What is this?" I whispered. Nobody answered. The station looked completely deserted. Yet something felt wrong, very wrong. The clock on the wall read 12:35, the exact time. My nightmare had begun. The realization hit me immediately. This wasn't Ash Hollow Station. This was a memory. The train had recreated it, or stolen it. Claire looked horrified. "Not this car, not again." "Again?" I asked. Samuel grabbed my arm. "Don't trust anything here, no matter what you see." The station speakers suddenly crackled. Static filled the room. Then a familiar voice emerged. "Freya." My heart stopped. The voice belonged to my mother. Impossible. She was hundreds of miles away. "Freya," the voice repeated. "Come home." The sound felt painfully real. My chest tightened. The speaker crackled again. "Freya, please." I turned toward the waiting room. A figure stood there. A woman. My mother. Exactly as I remembered her. The same face, the same clothing, the same smile. Tears filled my eyes. "Mom." Samuel immediately stepped between us. "No, that's not her." The woman smiled. "Freya, come here. You don't belong on this train. Come home." Every part of me wanted to run toward her. Every part. But something felt wrong. The smile, the eyes, they weren't quite right. Not completely human. The woman took a step forward, then another. Her body moved strangely, like someone pretending to be human, learning as they walked. The illusion began breaking. Her smile stretched. Wider. Too wide. Far too wide. Her eyes darkened. The skin around her face cracked. Samuel grabbed me. "Run!" We sprinted toward the next compartment. Behind us, my mother's voice transformed into something monstrous. A shriek. A howl. A sound that belonged nowhere in the natural world. The station memory dissolved around us. Walls twisted. Lights shattered. The entire car seemed to melt. We burst through another door, then stopped. All three of us. Because standing in the next compartment was Oliver, the little boy. He stood alone in the center aisle. His rag doll hung from one hand. For the first time since meeting him, he looked terrified. Not frightened, terrified. Oliver stared directly at me. Then he spoke 5 words that made my blood run cold. "It's awake now, Freya." And somewhere far ahead in the train, something enormous moved. Something even worse than the faceless creature. "It's awake now, Freya." Oliver's words echoed through my mind. The little boy stood frozen in the aisle. For the first time since I had met him, he looked completely terrified. Not of the faceless creature. Not of the passengers outside. Not even of the giant thing following the train through the darkness. He was afraid of something else. Something bigger. Something older. Something far worse. The train suddenly lurched. The floor tilted beneath us. Everyone stumbled. A deep sound rolled through the metal structure. Not a growl, not a scream. It sounded like a heartbeat. One massive heartbeat. The noise seemed to come from everywhere at once. The walls vibrated. The ceiling trembled. Even the air felt alive. Oliver slowly backed away. "It's waking up. We need to move. Now." Samuel looked pale. "No. No, no, no. It can't wake up. Not yet." Claire stared at him. "What is waking up?" Samuel swallowed. "The train." Silence followed. I blinked. "What?" The old man pointed at the floor. "This train isn't a machine. Not anymore. Maybe it once was, but not now. Now it's something else. Something alive." Another heartbeat echoed through the train. Louder this time. The lights flickered. Cracks appeared across the walls. Dark liquid seeped from between the metal panels. The liquid looked black, thick, like blood. I stepped backward. "Is alive." Samuel nodded. "And it's becoming aware of you." The words made my stomach twist. Why me? Before he could answer, Oliver suddenly looked toward the ceiling. His face drained of color. "It's coming." The faceless creature. We heard it immediately. Heavy footsteps, slow, deliberate, approaching from behind. Samuel cursed. "Run." Nobody argued. We sprinted through the next compartment. Then another. Then another. The train seemed different now. Changing. Growing. The hallways no longer looked normal. The walls pulsed. The floor shifted beneath our feet. Dark veins spread across every surface. The heartbeat continued. Boom. 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 The train was waking up, and it knew I was there. We burst into a massive chamber, unlike anything I had seen before. The room stretched impossibly far. Hundreds of train tracks crossed one another beneath a dark sky. Entire trains sat motionless in the distance, thousands of them. Different shapes, different designs, different eras. Steam engines, modern passenger trains, ancient locomotives, all abandoned, all silent. My mouth fell open. What is this place? The graveyard, Samuel answered. The graveyard of lost routes. I stared. Thousands of trains filled the darkness. Some looked centuries old, others appeared almost new. Every one of them sat abandoned forever. Then, I noticed something else. Millions of people wandered between the trains. Silent figures, endless figures, walking without purpose, without destination, without hope. The sight nearly stopped my heart. Those are the passengers who never escaped, Samuel whispered. The train takes everyone eventually. Nobody spoke. The sheer scale of it was impossible to comprehend. An entire world hidden beyond reality. A world made from forgotten souls. Then the footsteps returned. Closer. The faceless creature emerged from the darkness behind us. Its long body twisted unnaturally. The void where its face should have been focused directly on me. Oliver grabbed my sleeve. Don't let it touch you. Why? Because then it finds your memories. The creature lunged. We ran. The graveyard erupted into chaos. Passengers scattered. The creature pursued us across rusted tracks and abandoned platforms. Its movements became faster, more aggressive. The thing was losing patience. Boom! Another heartbeat. The entire landscape shook. Several distant trains collapsed. Metal screamed. The sky above cracked. A giant red fracture spread through the darkness. The train was waking further, and something inside it was opening its eyes. Oliver pointed ahead. There, a massive station stood at the center of the graveyard. Unlike everything else, it glowed faintly. Golden light spilled from broken windows. Samuel stopped. The Heart Station. Nobody spoke. Even Claire looked frightened. What's inside? I asked. Samuel stared at me. The answer. The station towered over everything around it. Giant clocks covered its walls. Every clock displayed a different time. Some moved backward, some moved forward, some spun wildly. We climbed the cracked stone steps. The giant door stood partially open. A warm wind drifted from within. The moment I crossed the threshold, the heartbeat stopped. Silence. Perfect silence. The station interior resembled a cathedral. Massive columns stretched upward into darkness. Golden light flowed from nowhere. At the center stood something enormous. At first I couldn't understand what I was seeing. Then my brain finally processed it. A heart. A gigantic heart. The size of a building. Suspended in the air. Beating. Alive. Black veins stretched from it in every direction, connecting to walls, floors, ceilings, tracks, everything. The train truly was alive. My legs nearly gave out. Impossible. Samuel lowered his head. We all thought the same thing the first time. The first time I asked, his expression changed. Sadness filled his eyes. Then I realized what he meant. Samuel had been here before, many times. The old man sighed, because this isn't the first loop. My pulse quickened. Loop. Oliver nodded. The train repeats itself, again and again. Different passengers, different years, same ending. The words hit me like a hammer. What ending? Nobody answered. Then the heart beat again. Boom! The entire cathedral shook. And for the first time, a voice echoed through the station. A voice larger than anything human. Freya. My blood froze. The voice came from the heart. Freya Collins. It knew my full name. The giant heart pulsed. The voice returned. You were never supposed to board. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The heart continued. A mistake was made. Around you, reality broke. The door opened. You entered. Now the balance is broken. The station trembled violently. Outside, distant screams echoed through the graveyard. Millions of voices. Millions. The heart pulsed again. Return to the beginning. The door must close. I finally found my voice. How? Silence followed. Then the answer came. Find the first station. The lights dimmed. The heartbeat intensified. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly Oliver screamed. Everyone turned. The faceless creature had entered the cathedral. It stood in the doorway, watching us. But something was different. The creature wasn't looking at me. It was staring at the heart. And for the first time, it looked afraid. The realization chilled me. Whatever the creature was, it feared the thing controlling the train. The giant heart pulsed. A blinding wave of light exploded outward. The creature shrieked. An awful sound. The station shook violently. Cracks spread across every wall. The floor split apart. The entire graveyard began collapsing. Samuel grabbed my arm. Freya, listen carefully. There isn't much time. What? The first station. You have to reach it. It's where everything began. It's the only way home. The ground cracked beneath us. Passengers screamed outside. Entire trains vanished into darkness. Samuel pushed something into my hand. An old brass ticket, worn and faded. Take it. You'll need it. I looked up. Samuel was smiling. A sad smile. What about you? The old man didn't answer, because he didn't need to. For the first time, I understood. Samuel wasn't leaving. Neither were most of the others. The train had owned them for too long. The cathedral shook again. Oliver grabbed my hand. We need to go. Now. A tunnel of light suddenly opened behind the giant heart. Bright, blinding, infinite. The heart spoke one final time. Return to the beginning. Return before the last stop. Oliver pulled me toward the tunnel. The faceless creature screamed, then charged. The giant heart unleashed another burst of light. The entire cathedral exploded into chaos. And as the tunnel began collapsing around us, Oliver and I ran straight into the light, toward the beginning, toward whatever terrifying truth waited there. The light swallowed everything. The cathedral disappeared. The graveyard vanished. The screams faded. Even the heartbeat of the train became distant. For a moment, I felt weightless, as if I were floating through endless space. Then, I hit the ground, hard. Pain shot through my shoulder. I rolled across cold concrete and finally stopped. For several seconds, I simply lay there, breathing heavily. The silence felt strange, real, not the unnatural silence of the train, not the suffocating silence of the graveyard, just silence. Slowly, I opened my eyes. A train station stood around me. Small, old, empty. The first station. Oliver stood nearby. His rag doll hung from one hand. For the first time since meeting him, he wasn't afraid. He looked sad, very sad. I climbed to my feet. Where are we? Oliver looked around. The place where everything went wrong. The station looked ancient. Gas lamps lined the platform. Wooden benches sat beneath a large clock. The architecture felt much older than Ash Hollow. Older than anything I had seen before. At the far end of the platform stood a black locomotive. The very first, last train. Smoke drifted from its chimney. The engine looked newer here. Not broken, not corrupted, not monstrous. Just a train. My stomach tightened. What happened here? Oliver stared at the locomotive. A long time ago, someone opened a door that should never have been opened. Instead of answering, Oliver pointed toward the station building. A figure stood there, waiting. The moment I saw him, my blood turned cold. The conductor. The same conductor I had seen when I first boarded. Tall, thin, silent. Except now I could see his face. And that somehow frightened me even more. Because he looked completely human. A tired man. Nothing more. He slowly removed his cap. His eyes met mine. You finally arrived. His voice sounded calm, normal, nothing like I expected. Who are you? I asked. The conductor smiled sadly. I used to ask myself the same question. The answer confused me. Before I could speak again, he turned and entered the station building. Follow me. I exchanged a glance with Oliver. The boy nodded, so we followed. Inside, the station appeared frozen in time. Dust covered every surface. Old calendars hung from walls. Faded posters advertised train routes that no longer existed. The conductor led us into a small office. Maps covered one wall. At the center sat an enormous book. Its pages appeared ancient. The conductor gently touched the cover. This is where it started. I looked at the book. What started? The train. The conductor opened it. Inside were thousands of names. Thousands. Each page contained passengers, dates, locations, destinations. The list seemed endless. Then I noticed something. The earliest entry, year 1888. Passenger 1. No name. Just 2 words. Station master. The conductor saw me reading. That was me. A cold chill passed through me. You. He nodded. I built the railway. I ran this station. I believed death was unfair. I believed people deserved another chance. His voice grew quieter. So I searched for a way to create one. The room suddenly felt colder. And I found something. Something beyond life. Something beyond death. The conductor stared at the floor. I opened a door. At first it seemed beautiful. A path between worlds. A bridge. The last train was created to guide lost souls. For years it worked. Something came through. The faceless creature. I whispered. The conductor nodded. No, not the creature. Something worse. The creature was only its servant. My heart skipped. Then what came through? The conductor looked directly at me. The train itself. Silence. The answer made no sense. The train, I repeated. It was never a train. Not really. It only used that shape because human minds could understand it. The thing beyond the door was alive, ancient, hungry, and when it entered our world, it began feeding. The office trembled. Far outside, a train horn echoed. Long, deep, terrible. The conductor closed his eyes. It found me first, then everyone else. Every soul it touched became part of it. Every passenger strengthened it. Every year it grew larger. The room shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling. Oliver stepped closer to me. It's finding us. The conductor nodded. Yes, because you're here. Freya. Again. That word. Again. I stared at him. What do you mean again? The conductor looked genuinely surprised. You still don't remember. Remember what? His expression darkened. Then he slowly turned the book toward me. A specific page had been marked. I looked down and nearly stopped breathing. Written there was my name, Freya Collins. The date beside it wasn't 2025, 2026. It wasn't any recent year. It was written dozens of times. Again and again. Different dates, different decades, different centuries. Freya Collins, Freya Collins, Freya Collins. Thousands of entries. My hands started shaking. No, that's impossible. The conductor spoke softly. You've boarded before. Many times. Every cycle, every loop. You always reach this place. You always try to stop it. And every time you fail, the room spun. My head hurt. Fragments of memories exploded through my mind. Different stations, different lives, different faces, different versions of myself, running through endless train cars, hiding, fighting, dying, again and again and again. I fell to my knees. The memories flooded back. Thousands of lifetimes, thousands of failures. The truth was unbearable. The train wasn't hunting me because I was special. It was hunting me because I remembered. Because every cycle I came closer to the truth. A deafening horn blast interrupted everything. The station shook violently. Windows shattered. Outside, darkness swallowed the sky. The last train had arrived. Not the locomotive outside, the real train. The impossible train. The living train. The station walls split apart. Black veins erupted through the floor. The world screamed. The conductor helped me stand. This is your final chance. P. How do I stop it? He handed me the brass ticket Samuel had given me. The ticket felt warm, alive. The conductor smiled sadly. Close the door. The same door I opened. The first door. The office floor cracked open. A staircase appeared beneath it, descending into darkness. The conductor pointed. It's waiting below. Oliver grabbed my hand. Together we descended. The staircase seemed endless. The deeper we went, the louder the heartbeat became. Boom, boom, boom. Finally, we reached the bottom. A massive chamber stretched before us. At its center stood a doorway. Nothing more. A simple wooden door. The first door. Black energy poured from the cracks around it. The heartbeat echoed from beyond. The source. The beginning. The end. The door slowly creaked open, and something looked back. I cannot describe it. Not because I don't want to, because I can't. Human language isn't enough. The thing beyond the door was too vast, too wrong, too impossible. My mind struggled to comprehend it. Even seeing a fraction of it caused pain. Fear, unlike anything I had ever known, flooded through me. The thing noticed me. The heartbeat stopped. Then a voice filled reality itself. Freya. I nearly collapsed. The voice continued. You return. The darkness beyond the door shifted. You always return. I gripped the brass ticket tightly. This ends now. For the first time, the thing laughed. The sound shattered stone. That. P. The chamber trembled. The door began opening wider. The creature beyond started emerging. I thought of Samuel, Claire, Oliver, the countless passengers trapped forever. The millions wandering the graveyard. The endless suffering. No more. I ran, straight toward the door. The thing roared. Darkness surged forward. The entire station began collapsing. Oliver shouted my name. The conductor screamed something I couldn't hear. I reached the doorway, then forced the brass ticket into the lock. For one terrifying second, nothing happened. Then the ticket ignited. Blinding golden light exploded outward. The door slammed shut. The roar became a scream. A horrible scream. The darkness retreated. The chamber cracked. The heartbeat stopped. Forever. The silence that followed felt impossible. Peaceful. Real. The black veins crumbled into dust. The staircase vanished. The station dissolved. The train screamed one final time. Then everything disappeared. Light consumed the world. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on a wooden bench. Cold wind brushed against my face. Birds chirped nearby. Morning sunlight filled the sky. For several seconds I didn't move. I simply stared, afraid to breathe, afraid to hope. Then I looked around. Ash Hollow Station. Normal. Empty. Safe. The station clock read 8:12 a.m. My phone had signal. Cars moved in the distance. People walked along nearby streets. Reality. Actual reality. Tears filled my eyes. I was home. A train horn echoed far away. My heart nearly stopped. I spun around. Nothing. Only ordinary tracks stretching into the distance. No black locomotive, no darkness, no last train. Gone. Years have passed since that morning. I still work as a photographer. I still travel. I still avoid train stations after midnight. Sometimes I wake from nightmares. Sometimes I remember Samuel. Sometimes I remember Claire. Most of all, I remember Oliver, the boy who never got to leave. The boy who helped me save everyone else, or at least I hope I did. Because every year, on the anniversary of that night, I receive the same thing in my mailbox. A single train ticket. Old, worn, made of brass. No address, no sender. Just 5 words engraved on the back. Thank you for the ride. And every time I read those words, I wonder if the nightmare truly ended, or if somewhere beyond the darkness, another train is already waiting.